How I would start my bookkeeping business from scratch. So let's say that, like something happened and I lost all my clients and just had basically to restart from zero. So these are the practical steps and strategies that I would use to basically go and recreate my success. Let's attack this thing. So for me, I started my accounting and bookkeeping firm back in 2015. It took me about 16 months to get to about 17 grand a month in sales for bookkeeping and CFO services. Now, for this presentation, I want to kind of give you what are like the most important things you need to be focused on because there's a lot of just misinformation being spread just in the online space in general about like what does it actually take to find success in a business. You hear things like, business is hard. You hear things like it takes you at least 2 years before you can make a really good income when it comes to any business, whether it's online or in person. And that's not true. We have students that we've mentored that have gotten to six figures in a matter of 5 months. I've gotten people to get to 10K per month in their business in a matter of 35 days, right? So you can definitely do it faster. It's just you have to know the right things. And that's what this video is designed to help you with today. So stick around for the end. You'll be able to grow your business as fast as you want. So number one, building internal confidence. Now, for most people, as we kind of get older, there's a lot of times when we're wrong about stuff. Now, this doesn't have to be like, like really major things we're wrong about, but just little things kind of add up over time. And, we start saying like, oh, well, maybe I don't know everything, right? And that kind of like over time leads to you having a lot of like different fears, different insecurities, different things that stop us from going after what we want or stop us from doing the things that we want in the level of intensity or detail we need to do because it's like, what's the point of trying if not going to really work? Now, what this also leads to is what's called imposter syndrome. So, imposter syndrome can be, maybe you know a good amount about a subject, but you just are feeling like there's so much stuff that you don't know that you're not really worthy of being able to go and do something. So, let's say, for example, let's say that you've been doing bookkeeping for 5 years, right? And you're like, but there are people who have been doing it for 40 years. How, what right do I have to be able to go out and like speak on the same things that they do when they have way more experience and I've only been doing this for 5 years? But if you think about it, if you had 5 years, that's half a decade worth of experience in, let's say, playing basketball, you'd have a lot more experience than most people. Or the same thing with like, let's say you had 5 years experience with like with doing like a sword, right? So let's say you're like a samurai with your sword. It's a lot of time. It may not be as good as like 100-year-old like grandmaster, but it's still a really good amount of time. Cool. Next thing, so start like learning how to start investing in yourself. One thing that I've done to like overcome invest in imposter syndrome is investing in myself. So I invest in a lot of courses and masterminds when I was first getting started. And in addition to building up your confidence, so those do two things. Number one, when I started paying money for stuff, it's like I had like this fire under my butt to actually do the work. Before I did that, it was kind of like I would show up and I would kind of do stuff and I would like, maybe if I felt like doing something one day, I would do it. If I felt like, doing marketing another day, I would do it. Or if I didn't feel like doing it, I just wouldn't do it. As soon as I started investing in courses and stuff, it was like, oh, I've already paid money for this. Now I actually have to do this because if I don't, I'm losing money essentially. And then also just being around individuals that were further ahead than me really helped because it was like, okay, so this is what people are doing. This is what it actually takes to go and get to that next level. And I was able to replicate what they were doing in order to kind of get to that next level. So that's why I always encourage people to invest in like coaching and mentorship. And if you want to look at ours, go and click the link to the side of the description, book a call, let's see if I can help you. Cool. Next, creating a clear vision. So one thing people really are bad at is creating visions. A lot of people are really good at doing like one day I want this. Maybe in the future I want this. And like it causes us to never really like get where we're trying to go. So we need to have both a long-term like desire or dream and then having short-term goals and long-term vision. Okay, so three different things, right? There's goals, vision, dream. If we have a vision, right, that's going to be the overarching thing that's going to lead us to where we want to go. That's going to lead us to our dreams. And then in the short term, we have these goals we have to hit in order to execute on that vision to get us to our dream. That's how this stuff works, right? So in the beginning, let's say that your short-term goals look or short-term goals are number one, I want to go and get like 3 clients by 1 month, the next 30 days. Okay, cool. And if I can get 3 clients in 30 days, can I do that same pace for the next 6 months? If I do 3 clients a month for 6 months, that's going to leave me 18 clients. If I get 18 clients, I'll probably be at 12 grand per month. And if I'm at 12 grand a month for long enough, right? Because these clients don't leave you once you get them, then I'm going to be able to be at that, what we say? We said 12 grand per month, 144 a year before taxes and expenses. If I do that for 10 years, right, that's an extra million, $1.4 million before taxes. You can do a lot of stuff with that. You can travel the world with that. You can take your kids out of public school. You can do a lot of stuff with that, right, with an extra $1 million in the bank, right? So that's how we think about it. Because most people always like they have a goal of like, I want to go travel, I want to do this, but being able to put those practical steps in place are the things that most people struggle with that cause most people to fail. So we have to make sure we know that. Next, I want to look at who is my ideal client. So this answer is gonna be different for everyone because some people like an ideal client is within a niche. Sometimes an ideal client is within a certain dollar revenue. Sometimes an ideal client is a certain personality trait. Sometimes it's a certain type of so there's like niches, there's industries, slightly different between a niche and industry, right? Because within the industry, you could, for example, be in the beauty industry. So I think of beauty industry, I think of hairstylists, I think of makeup artists, I think of photographers, I think of makeup e-commerce stores. I think of retailers that offer like cool clothes. I think of Fashion Nova, the online website that sells cool clothes. I think of Kylie Jenner, like so all those are within one industry. A niche should be more of like I only work with like makeup companies, or I only work with like hairstylists, right? So it's slightly different thing, but really understanding like who is the ideal person you're looking after. Because if you try and go after everybody, you're really going to attract no one, right? Let's just be honest with it. And the reason why is because it's not that you're not going to attract anyone. It's just that when you start making content eventually, your content only works if it's very specific to the pains and problems that the business is having. And every business is going to need accounting and bookkeeping services for slightly different reasons and slightly different purposes. So I'll give you an example. So let's say it's a solopreneur general contractor who just made $200,000 this year. They're generally going to need to have bookkeeping so that by the end of tax time, they don't have to pay their CPA an exorbitant cleanup fee. They also are looking for bookkeeping so that tax time can be very smooth so they can get as many deductions and save on the tax as much as possible. Versus, let's say it's an e-commerce company that is at $1 million per year, but they're generally trying to go to $2 to $3 million per year. And there are two main problems that they're having at this moment. Number one is they can never order enough inventory. Okay, so they need help with their cost accounting. Number two, they do not know which advertising campaigns that they are running is actually profitable versus which one is very inefficient. Right? So it's a totally two different things. So if you're speaking in your content about, I'm going to help you, get ready for tax time. Yes, you might attract the person that's doing the 200K per year, the general contractor, like we said, but you're going to miss out on the e-commerce person. And if you have e-commerce and then construction and then this and then this and then this and this and this and this and this, some companies doing 1,000 a month, some companies are doing 1,000 a year, some companies doing $1 million a day, right? It's going to be all over the place. You're just not going to have a very good um, ability to do content. And in the beginning, not that big of a deal because like in the beginning, I think until you're about like 7K per month, you probably should not be making marketing content if you're doing bookkeeping. If you're in my program and you see this video and you're doing tax planning, okay, you're doing content at a slightly different time because the kind of clients you're going after are slightly different. So my advice for bookkeeping versus for tax planning, it's a little bit different. Cool. Come on, next slide. Next thing is mastering your sales and marketing process. So, number one, you have to build what's called an attractive character story. So, an attractive character story, it's similar to an elevator pitch, but it's more about you. When I think of an elevator pitch, most people are like, they're trying to pitch their service in like 30 seconds. And that's great if no one knows what you actually do. But most business owners that have been in business for a little bit of time understand why they need accounting and bookkeeping. Most of them do. Not all of them, but most. So you have to basically build a story, and basically all this is taking your life story of like What were you doing in the past? What got you interested in doing an accounting or bookkeeping business? What made you think that you were qualified to do it? How many people have you worked with, or how many people have you helped out, even if it was in a free capacity? Why should the person work with you now? If you can get those 5 things in your attractive character story, you're going to be able to get more business owners to be like, okay, this is the person who works for me. Now, in a lot of cases, if you cannot do this attractive character story, you're not going to be differentiated enough for someone to answer the question, like, why should I work with you over everyone else? Right? See, one problem you're going to be faced with, especially on consultation calls, is that business owners, they know why they need the help, they just don't know who to get the help from. And if you're facing and sitting in front of them and like they don't understand how you're different than other people they've already talked to or spoken with, you're not going to stand out. They're not going to pay you the price point you need. That's what makes it hard to sell high ticket services and high ticket price points, right? If you're selling like everyone else, then they're going to put you in the same price bracket and basically the same price point as all the other people that are lower. And if you're charging higher, now you just price yourself out the market. But if you can come in at the right way, then business owners want to work with you more. Next thing is inside of your consultation calls, you have to get good at getting the clear understanding of the different problems the business owner is having and what's the problem, how long they've been having the problem, why is it important to solve it, what have they done to solve it. For every problem they're doing, right? I'm always thinking those 4 things. If I can get those 4 things and understand it, I can then basically you're drawing a picture from where they are now to where they want to go. And in the middle of that, that bridge, right, from let's say that where they are right now, like they're at this like island, and then the rest of the world, and this their dream is up here. Your service is that bridge that goes in between them that causes them to make it back to civilization and go to wherever they want to go in their life. So in order for you to know where is this like ideal situation in place, you have to know where are they now and where do they want to go. That's only done through asking good questions. Most people, what's going to happen is like they're literally just going to get on the phone and they're like, as soon as someone either disagrees with them or someone says something, they try and like spit out like lines and stuff they think the person wants to hear. This happens all the time, actually, when I like mentor someone. On a mentorship program, on the first day, on the onboarding call, we're basically going through like what is the most important aspects of like bookkeeping. And I say like, yeah, so business owners say like something like this. And then almost everybody gives like this like rebuttal line that they think is like what's going to close a sale because it's like a one liner they heard like on a YouTube video or something. And it's almost like never the right thing to do, right? This kind of shifts into objection handling, but it's kind of the same principle where everyone is thinking something slightly different. So the reason why they said it's slightly different, their interpretation of it's slightly different, how strongly they feel about something is slightly different, and like their personality of how you're going to approach them makes things slightly different. So if you're using the same one-liner on every person without getting understanding those 4 aspects, it's just never gonna hit. So like it's funny whenever I tell someone what a business owner is going to say, and they give me that like that objection, it's almost always wrong. And it's not that like what you're saying is wrong. It's just that you have to ask questions first. Do not assume that you know the answers. That will change if you've had over 1,000 calls and if you've had over 100 clients. Like so like for example, I can kind of cheat a lot of these things too in terms of how I objection handle because I just dropped my gold coin case. But I have done so many consultation calls that I pretty much know the reason why someone's asking the question because I've done the process right so many times. So I am essentially guesstimating why they're saying a certain thing, and I can ask a leading question that's going to get them to the same outcome that they would have gone through if I asked all these different questions before. So I can kind of like shortcut because I've done 3,000 sales calls, right? So it's a little bit different. If you haven't done 3,000 sales calls and you've only done like 5, the answer suite that you have is generally not going to be like sufficient to answer those questions. So you have to actually go from reverse and build up your intuition on how to answer a good objection handling line. And if you need help with objection handling and sales, that's something we coach on very extensively inside our program. We give you objection handling, how to do it, how to ask the right questions, what to say on your consultation calls in general, so that you're actually just like, oops, getting the right things asked at all times, and just making it really easy for you to be good at sales. Cool. Next thing is prioritization of onboarding and client retention. So this is something that's so critical. When you're starting out, you need to have a really good onboarding process. Now, I don't mean that everything needs to be super automated. That's one misconception people have. Like they're like, oh, it needs to be automated. Like I need to have this thing happen, then this other thing happens, and this other thing happens, this other thing happens. No, don't need to be that automated. So, one thing that I love doing is while I'm on the consultation call and I just close the sale or in between the call or in between the sale, right? I'm going to be saying, okay, so cool. So as soon as you have signed this contract and you've paid this invoice, I'm going to send you a link for you to book your onboarding call. Or if you want, we can book your onboarding call now. If they want to do it now, I just schedule on the calendar. Okay, cool. After this call, you're going to get an onboarding email with everything you need to get plugged into working together. Okay, and in the email, it has everything they need essentially. Where should they send the documents? What software do they need to get? What should they bring to the onboarding call? And just moving forward really quickly. Usually, I will have the contract already sent to them by the point they're in there. So I like using DocuSign. Some people like using Ignition. Some people like using HoneyBook. Those are just different software you can use. You don't even have to use software. Like if you're really just like just starting out, you don't have anything. Literally, you can just email someone. They'll print it out. They'll sign it, and they'll send it back to you. Super simple, super easy. Um, you can use QuickBooks as your payment processor to send the first invoice. Easy. Okay. So it doesn't have to be automated. It just has to be there, right? So engagement letter, invoice. If you want to put them together using like something like HoneyBook, you definitely can. Next thing, I want to book the onboarding call. After that, I want to send them an onboarding email, like a welcome email with everything they need to get plugged in. Do the onboarding call. If you can do the onboarding call, I would probably do a presentation so that every single onboarding call is almost exactly the same. You can choose if you want to do that first onboarding call as an onboarding call or as an initial coaching call, essentially, right? We're basically coaching them through any of like the problems or challenges they've been having. If you're a little bit less experienced, I probably would not do a coaching call just because like you might not know enough to kind of like come across like you're really good at what you do, right? We can do that because my controller has 30 years of accounting experience, right? And she literally does this. She was doing that for her actual job for most of her career, right? So we can do that. We don't necessarily have to do, okay, onboarding call, step one, step two, step three. Here's how you get information to us. Here's how, blah, blah, blah. It's just like, no, let's go and attack your problem as soon as possible. Cool. And after that, you just build a consistent process for consistent follow-ups. So when I say consistent follow-ups, I like every like 1 to every 2 weeks having like a premeditated text or premeditated email that basically just checks in with the person to make sure they're doing okay or there's any questions that you have. Now, the cool thing about our service is that in a lot of cases, you can keep asking questions about stuff you're seeing, stuff that's going on, if they got in the work to you. So you're always constantly in communication with them without necessarily having to do calls or be on like a Zoom call with them. So just kind of be aware of that. Next thing for marketing, start learning how to develop partnership and leverage partnerships. So I like creating proper referral partnerships. It's really good because you can do it with basically any business owner that's not going to be a good client for you could end up being one of your referral partners, right? So consultants, niche professionals, CPAs. I really love just as many different partnerships you possibly can because I mean it just makes everything so much easier for you over time, right? Because you don't necessarily need to be constantly going out and hunting constantly. They have other people that are hunting for you, and it just makes your job so much easier when it comes to like marketing and sales, right? Because as you get more clients, you're going to get more and more busy. So you don't want to constantly have to be like hunting. You can never actually do the client work. So by learning how to build, maintain, and nurture this relationship, you're going to be making more and more money over time without necessarily having to do a million hours of work. And that's really the outcome and the goal that most people should be having when it comes to like their marketing. Cool. After that, different tools. So I would be thinking about automating repetitive tasks. So when I say automating repetitive tasks, I'd be thinking about automating tasks that are repetitive but not super important. So if you noticed earlier when I talked about the onboarding, I said I would not automate the onboarding because that's very important. Now, it is repetitive, right? But it's important. So I can't afford to have an automation fail or the wrong email be sent or an email not even get sent out or no one checks in with them to make sure they got it, right? So I need to make sure there's a very high personalization when it comes to that. But certain things like, let's say if I'm just trying to build a connection on LinkedIn, like with a referral partner, I want the automation tool to basically automate that. I would let's say what's another good example? Let's say I'm gonna like make content. I want the content tool to basically post it for me when I'm doing something else, right? I want to use different tools like Apollo to go and make good lead lists, right? Same thing with Sales Navigator to make really good lead lists, right? But as far as like stuff like you have to really learn how to choose what to automate, like what to actually use, what to delegate, and what to like eliminate, right? And then also being able to monitor and adjust your marketing efforts based on number one, the ROI, number two, your time constraint, and number three, what stage of business you're in, right? So in terms of stage of business you're in the beginning, you want to be doing things very manual. As you start getting some traction, you can start automating some of your marketing. But then over time, you're going to want to start delegating a lot of the marketing as well. So not just having an automated tool, but having someone to manage the automated tool to make sure that there's no breakdowns in terms of the results or the clientele that you're getting. Same thing with ROI. If there's something that you're doing that has a very low ROI, stop doing it and instead spend your time, your resource, and your effort on stuff that's going to give you a higher ROI, and just constantly be monitoring that at all times, right? So if I can focus on that, then I'm going to be really good. I'm going to be really like solid, really strong in my business. And the next thing, just keep embracing continuous learning, right? So I would always be learning from successful business owners, so especially successful bookkeeping business owners, right? So always look for that. Now, what I would be probably focused on is like business owners and bookkeeping business owners that actually have taught other people how to do it, not just some that have like gotten a couple referrals and then like it took off. Like for example, I know a lot of people where it's like they got lucky with their bookkeeping business and like they got like let's say for an example an initial like 7 clients but they never learned the marketing skill set to be able to keep growing it. So whatever you're struggling with in your business is probably the stage of like learning that I would probably learn from. So let's say that if you need help like managing a high volume of clients, you go after like a company with a high volume of clients. If you're struggling to learn how to grow, you go after someone that's good at growing their business, not just someone that has clients, you know. So you have to like really pick and choose the people you speak to based on the stage that you're at. Next thing, stay updated on industry trends. It's not necessarily so that you like need to necessarily like change your business based on that, but it's important to know some of these industry trends because they're going to come up in conversations with your clients. For example, different tools, like there's different innovation in tools. Sometimes tools get outdated. Sometimes tools have like data breaches and they can't be used the same way anymore. So a lot of different things can kind of come up. Next thing, I would always be investing in self-improvement through like books, courses, and mentorship programs, right? That's where you're gonna find the most growth, at least in the initial like 4 to 5 years. After about 5, 6 years, you're not gonna need them, but you can do it to just like stay like motivated and just like stay excited in a lot of cases. But in the first like 1 to 2 years, I'd probably invest in as many like different mentorship programs and courses I possibly can. Cool. Cool. So basically, understand your sales process, have a really good vision, have some goals, and have your dream. Make sure you understand how to do your attractive character so that business owners are seeing you as a differentiated person that stands out rather than just another person that is charging way more for the exact same service. Understand the difference between who is your ideal client and then moving forward, and then always constantly be reinvesting in yourself so you can keep building, keep getting more skills, and keep moving faster. And always stay consistent, stay adaptable, keep moving forward. Now, if you want some help going and growing your business, go ahead and click the link inside the description, either above or below the video, to book a call with myself to see if I can help you inside of our mentorship program. Everything we talked about today is covered inside our mentorship program and more. So if you want to learn more and see how effective it could be for you and your family, go ahead and click the link. I'd love to see you on the other side, okay? I'll talk to you soon. Have a good rest of your day. Take it easy.